Welcome to Pardon My Hunch, the show about the real decisions we make in business and in life, and the gut instincts that we trust or wish we hadn't ignored. As always, this show is brought to you by the Vibe Method, which is a method that we use and teach innovators and marketers to help them nail a unique customer story and prove it will sell before they ever build, launch, or scale the real thing. So to find out more about how we can help you nail a killer vibe before you take anything live, you can go to gohunch.com. Now let's get on with the show. Lee Judge is here today. Welcome, Lee.
Hi, Terry. Hey, glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so pumped to have you. And we've been chatting already. So we're going to just keep going, right?
Yes,
Uh,
we're friends now.
yeah, we go way back. Lee is the co-founder and CMO of Content Monsta. I mean, such a
Yeah.
great which is essentially a marketing agency, right? A B2B content marketing agency. We help businesses use content successfully, specifically, and we've talked a lot about, I love this, on businesses align marketing and sales teams, since that's your background that you got pulled into long ago. And it's such it truly is somebody who's bridged the gap between those two functions and helping companies do that. And obviously, you mentioned your AI forward. You find yourself, because you use AI, you find yourself talking about and teaching it. I find I'm in the same boat with clients. The minute we mention how we use it, it becomes about that. And
Yeah.
sadly, I think a lot of people are jumping into AI and hoping for things that are not really how it's designed. But we can get into that if we want.
Yeah.
But again, thank you so much for being here. I always like to start with the same question.
Okay.
And essentially think about, we've talked about a lot of things today, but your career and your journey. Is there a time, when you had a hunch, about making a move, a call, and you followed it and it worked out, or maybe you didn't and wish you had? Can you tell us
Well,
that?
it's when you asked me about this question, two came to mind. So I'll give you one and the other one if you want. The
Okay.
main one was more recently. So my agency, we produce podcasts for businesses, and originally we had kind of marketed, that was our message, that we were a podcast agency. And we were even looking to see, we were looking how we compete with SEO and other marketing agencies who do podcasts. But then we realized that with me particularly, we have a deep history of marketing expertise, marketing operations, marketing consulting, and that our most successful clients were having success because of the content we created for them, not because of the podcast. And we always told them, look, this isn't about becoming viral. It's not about being NPR or Joe Rogan. It's about reaching your customers. And so our marketing expertise always was injected in that. And our hunch was, wait a minute, why are we competing with podcast companies when we're so much more? And so we pivoted our whole messaging to say, look, a podcast is just one form of content. It's just one channel. We produce audio and video and text and all these other rich formats of content. And first of all, we come in as their marketing partner, an extension of their marketing team. And so we made a full pivot a year or two ago to say we're not competing against podcast companies, because when we have clients who come to us and say, we want a podcast, we immediately say, we are a content marketing agency. We will help you drive business. Our goal is to help you drive revenue. It is not to be a famous podcaster. And that
Ooh,
turns some people
that,
away, but
yeah.
we don't want those clients. We want businesses who understand. And another thing is, we looked at our success stories, and the success stories, whether they were for video production clients or podcast clients or content engine clients, we call it, their success stories were things like, our client watched our show and reached out to us, or we've had so many more conversations with our ideal customer profile because they came on our show, or because they did an interview with us, or because a customer testimonial reached them. Those are the results we want to see. We want to see our clients say, wow, we have new relationships. We have clients who have been quiet all this time, but because they saw this video of us, now they're reaching out to us and they're already warm because they feel like they know us. They've been listening to our consultants, they've been listening to our experts. They saw a CEO video, now they trust us. So when they reach out, they've already made the decision that they like us, they want to do business with us. Those are the success stories that we realized drove business for us and for our clients. And so we put away all the messaging for podcasting and pivoted to, look, we're a content engine agency back with marketing experience. And that is what's working. And it's driving our business forward quickly because those are the gaps that businesses have. Is how do we gain visibility to our clients? How do we get our CEO on camera? How do we share the
Yeah.
expertise we have? Those are challenges that companies have that we've solved and made easy. And then along comes AI, and visibility is something they need. And so we've already solved for that in terms of, we know that in the next years or couple of years, you're going to need to be able to show up with human experience, human opinions, and your AI slop written article won't do it. And so we help companies
Did
do
you say
that.
AI slop written? Just to
Yeah.
clear. Yeah.
In
Okay.
fact, we have a
Yeah.
tool where we allow our clients, or actually anybody, it's free on our website. You can put in your article that already exists. Either it's old or it's AI slop.
Yeah.
You put in the URL and it will give you questions based on our poet framework that allows you to go back to the expert, ask them these deep questions that are not easy, and when they answer those questions, put those answers back into the article and make a real deep article that no writer, no marketer, no AI could have written without that expert.
Wow. That's awesome. We're plugging that. What is it
Yeah.
called again? It's called
It's
Poet.
called the Poet Framework. If you go on my website, contentmonsta.com, that's
Okay.
like on the first menu. I mean, we're
Yeah.
not selling it or promoting it. It's free, whatever. But if you go, I think there's first drop down, you'll see Poet. In fact, that's probably contentmonsta.com/poet.
Okay.
But POET stands for proof, opinion, experience, and trust. And we've had CEOs say, whoa, that's a tough question. And our response is, it's supposed to be tough. If your marketer can answer it, it's not good enough. If only you, the CEO, the CTO, or the subject matter expert, if only you can answer that, that's the kind of content we want to add to your content mix. Not what AI is written, not what your marketer can write, not what your ghostwriter can write unless they interview you. This is content that is much deeper. And so what we're seeing now, Gibbon, we'll we'll see in the next year or two how AI responds to that. But what we
Mhm.
already know is that AI knows AI content and it's not going to rank it.
Yeah.
Even
True.
even
Yeah.
Google, right? So our content that we create with our clients says things like, in my experience, or what I saw, or in our recent case study, or my opinion on where this is going is. Those are things AI can't do. And that's the kind of content we're creating. And so you can imagine how far we are from a podcast company when we're doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, what you said, it's like the podcast is what is it?
Just
The
one of the
mechanism, the
channels.
tool to
It's a format.
collect, right? The format. Thank you.
Yeah, it's just a format.
And I mean, you started with like people want to do the people that think that that's what they want, but what they get is the meat in there, and the meat is
Yeah.
the value. I love what you said about some people are turned off by it, and that's okay, right? Because then you're filtering out somebody who is probably not ideal for you.
Yeah.
And when
And
you
that's a
say this is
business
if
growth
this is
thing.
just to go viral and to that's your main goal, that's not what
Yeah,
you
and
do.
that's good business advice. I mean, if you have clients coming to you, or potential clients that A, they're going to churn in a few months, or B, you can't give them the numbers that they're wishing for, which could be just made up, then
Yeah.
they're not a good client. I mean, if a client, I'll give you an example. If a client is an industrial flooring company and they want to start a podcast, and they're like, well, we see that industry benchmarks for a podcast says we should have 1,000 listeners on release day. Like, no, that's not going to happen. Like, how many industrial flooring what's the total addressable market? Let's say if there's 10,000, buyers in the country, how do you expect to get 1,000 listens the first day? Right. I mean, it's just not your industry. The reality is, if you start that podcast or that video series, you only need 5, 10 of the right people to
Wow.
watch your content. That's who you really want. Now, if you reverse that and say, hey, what if I could bring you 5 new ideal customers this month? They'd be absolutely yes. They'd be excited. But what if you say, what if you launch a video podcast and only get 5 viewers? No, I don't want to do that. Same 5 people. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
about how you frame it and what their
Mhm.
expectations are. So if they come to us with expectations of being a celebrity podcaster or having a celebrity YouTube channel, we're going to say, look, that's not realistic. We're not going to prop you up for something that's not realistic, not going to happen. We're going to tell you how it works from a business standpoint, not from a fame standpoint. We're not out to make our clients famous. We're out to make them profitable.
I mean, if you get famous accidentally from it, great. But
That would be great.
don't
Yeah.
we just, we want, yeah. I mean, I don't know. We were talked earlier about you having a Guy Kawasaki on your podcast, which I'm like, oh, because I'm a fan, but I mean, he is so, he talks obviously a lot about being, he's the mind behind the Apple,
Mm-hmm.
the launch of the campaign and the 80s, all the things, but like the making meaning part is just like it makes me cry. It's like people want to know the ingredient of success. And if you look at founders' stories, the one thing is always true that they were passionate about the problem, right? That they like want to have an impact. They want to do something meaning. They want to make meaning. And like of course we want to make money, but they're not just trying to come up with something to make money. It's like it reminds me
Mm-hmm.
of what you're saying. It's like, obviously you want to help them be profitable, but like I think from content standpoint, it has to be genuine and
Yeah.
quality. Like you said, going back to your the poet framework and the questions that will be generated that you can ask the thought leader or the COO, the person who's going to have the good stuff that everyone's going to lean into. Um, it's hard to get that wrangle that person, and
It
have them
is.
believe in it. But like if you can get good stuff from that person, it can be genuinely valuable for others. And then the benefit that it has back to you is that those people are going to immediately have an association with what you do and want to work with you.
Yeah, you mentioned the wrangling of the executive part,
Yeah.
and marketers often overthink how complicated that is or is not, and it isn't what they think in most cases. For example, if I go back to 2019, my company would do these on-site video shoots where it may be that one time during the year, all the executives are in one hotel for a conference or a meeting, right? And we would rent out a hotel suite and do an all-day video shoot, bringing these executives in and out of the room all day. That's how it used to be done. But now we can do a remote recording and we can match that executive's schedule. And we're going to say, look, we only need an hour of your time at your office or at your home office, wherever you are. And that just changes the whole thing. I mean, we had one client where we did 200 videos in about 3 months. That logistically wouldn't have happened had we had to go in person to do these recordings. Um, we've done 2 or 3 CEO videos with a new client since January. Uh, that CEO, yeah, we wouldn't have got them into a studio 3 times. It's just so logistically, our model of remote capture has
Yeah.
just changed the game. And so, but the problem is marketers don't know or think about it. And so they pass it off as not being a possibility because they're thinking about how they used to do it. And they're like,
Hmm.
well, we can't get our CEO to write an article, so articles with our CEO are out of the window. We can't get our CEO to go into a studio, so they don't do that. Reality is, remote production can both get you the video of the CEO, and with that capture of the right questions, now you can write an article with the thoughts of the CEO. I mean, we won't even get into AI. I mean, if you have a CEO answering 15, 20 questions, we can easily put a prompt behind that and say, look, here's our company brand. We have this in our company already built in. We
Yeah.
have our clients' brand structure, our brand guidelines, how they speak, how they write, what they can and cannot say, because we have regulated industries as well. Take that framework, add that to what the CEO said in an interview, and output an article that is on brand, on voice for the CEO, what he or she would or wouldn't say, and it has the poet framework built in. It has some proof, some opinion, some
Yeah.
experience, and some trust factors. You get beautiful content out of that. But again, marketers tend to stop at what they can't do, like
Yeah.
because of what their past history is.
Yeah, and then big companies, the constraints are real. I always say they're real. Like this stuff is real. Let's help them find a workaround, and then help them see that that workaround was kind of partially their idea. Like if I could just get, I mean, I know I could do just to have a conversation. I could set up a time on their calendar for his or her time and have a conversation. It's just a conversation. Like, don't even tell them it's going to be, produced or so, whenever it has to be.
Yeah.
I have one client in mind where there's so much rich stuff that would come out of the president's mouth about the industry that would feel like valuable, like what do we call it, nurture, like tips, like
Hmm.
advice for people that, and maybe even for competitors, right? Like that just, all that does is build an association with that brand if they can get that
Yeah.
stuff out there. But it's like, he's never going to do it. He says he doesn't like to watch stuff. Okay, don't call it that. Don't call it. We're not. Maybe that's a trick or something.
That's
I'm like,
that there is a lot to that. In fact, because we avoid certain words like interview or podcast because it may build certain anxiety. Um, in our company, the S word is script. Like, don't let anybody script anything. If it's a planned conversation, you give them bullet points to say, we're going to ask you this question. Maybe you want to hit these points, or maybe even better, marketing wants to get certain points. So you say, look, here's some points we want you to hit, but we're not going to give you a script. We won't give you any long sentences. Just know that we want you to talk about this thing, and then we'll talk about it. We'll interview you. We'll have a conversation. You can mess up. You can restart all you want. Just have a regular conversation. And not only do you get that person's opinion and experience, you also get their style of speaking. They may tell some funny baseball story that brings it home in clarity of what they're trying to explain. That's something AI wouldn't do as well,
yeah.
So those conversations, as naturally as possible, lend to some really great content.
Mm. We have our approach, for our research and strategy work that we do that we call the vibe method. I didn't create that name to be cheesy. I mean, I truly found myself referencing sensing the vibe. What's the vibe? Like, what will be the vibe of what you heard? Like, I felt like what I meant all of those years when we were doing research with consumers. But in this instance, it's like you have got to feel it and hear it through the way they're talking, where they go on their own, and like it's not just the tone or their personality. It's like the way they characterize things. AI is never going to be able to do that without it getting the example, right? It has to be fed
Yeah.
in. Like, here's the conversation with this person. And then maybe you could get some additional ideas from AI, I would think, from that, right? Like once you,
Yeah. And people worry about losing the brand, but that's the beauty
yeah.
of AI. I mean, we have one client I'm thinking about, we have probably 10 to 30 documents on their brand, how they speak, what their guardrails are. You add that to a real conversation with a real human, and just the output is amazing. It's amazing.
And
Um,
when you said sorry, I was going to go back to um, the word, the S word you mentioned.
mhm.
We
Script.
avoid script. It makes sense. Say a little more on that. Like why you avoid that word with them.
Because people are nervous about what they say. Now, this could be because
Mhm.
of the regulations of their industry. It could be a personal hangup. It could be a crutch. They may just say, you know what, just tell me what to say. The higher you get up the ladder to the CEO, the more likely they're going to say, hey, marketing, write me a script, tell me what to say. That's horrible content because, especially on video, we know it's scripted. We know the sincerity is lost, the trust is lost.
Mhm.
This is 2026. We don't believe that stuff anymore. We need to have you make a few mistakes. We need to have you look up to the right where you're thinking or look up to the left when you're figuring out something. while you're talking about this thing. Otherwise, we don't trust it. And
Mm.
so when it's scripted, a person sounds robotic, it sounds planned, it sounds like somebody else wrote it for them. And we just don't believe it. We don't trust it. So now, if you want to plan a conversation, for example, we have a client who said, hey, we have this long white paper. We want to discuss it on our next episode. We have a process that we take that document, we pull out the headlines within the document, and we make bullet points within the document to say, okay, here's your conversation. If you ask each other these questions and hit these bullet points, you will have covered your whole white paper without talking about a white paper, right? And you could even say, we can go deeper into this, but it's already in the white paper, which is lead gen, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that way you cover it all, because if you give them, this is what point 3 is about, and you give them a whole sentence or two, they will read the whole sentence or two, and it will throw them off. They won't get into their own opinion. They'll just read the sentence and stop, or read the sentence and then repeat themselves when they go into their opinion. Bullet point. And the key point
Mhm.
is, if they know that thing, like for example, one of our clients, they're analysts and it's their paper. So if they know their paper, if they truly wrote that content, if they did the research, then they know that stuff. We often have to remind them, you wrote this, you know it. You don't need a script because you did the research. And that allows us to capture the expert's take on that information. And so we're not going to give you your paragraph back to you. We're going to ask you, when you wrote this, what were your thoughts? What did you find? They may go, you know, when we researched this topic, we were expecting this, but instead we found this. Because the white paper is not going to say what you didn't expect. It's going to say, here's fact, 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 fact. But when you talk about those facts, you may inject that human experience of, we were expecting this and we did that. We hit a roadblock here, but this is what our results were. That's what we want to hear. When we read or watch content or listen to it, we want to hear the story behind the information, not just the end fact. The end fact, AI can give us that. How did you get to that end fact? And how can we relate to it? How can we better understand it? That's where good content comes from.
Yeah. The story behind the story.
The story behind the story. Yep.
And one more thing on script, and because I just was fascinated when you said it, because I was like, I could feel myself trying to figure out, oh, I wonder why would they, when they figured this out, that they don't, like, it's a no, having a script. And my original hunch was that it was the opposite reason, right? Like, that they wouldn't want a script. So like, well, they're not going to want to be handed a script. They don't do that. But what? And then when you were
They want it.
explaining it, I'm like, yeah, it makes actually more sense what you're saying. Like, they just tell me what to say. You're like,
Yeah.
no,
Well, either
you
they're
don't want,
busy or they
yeah.
want to blame the marketer. They have some way to get out of saying,
Oh,
I,
yeah.
I didn't write that, or I didn't say that. They have an
Oh, my.
out. They can delay the process to say, let's go through 3 revisions of this script before I do it. Oftentimes it's just them delaying the process
Oh,
and
interesting. That's human.
overthinking it. And the more they overthink it, I mean, I've seen scripts go all the way up to legal and back before we
Oh,
actually do a
wow.
recording. The longer it takes, the more they scrutinize it, the worse the content is going
Yeah,
to be.
no doubt.
Um, Unless it is something that is designed for your website that needs to be very precise, and you're making an announcement, for example,
Hmm.
and we expect the script, okay, that's fine. If it's I don't know, the quarterly report or something, yeah, that's okay, because we don't expect you to have original thoughts, off the dome at that moment. But if it's supposed to be real, if it's supposed to be you and your opinion, it needs to be spur of the moment, you and your opinion, not a script. Otherwise, we won't believe it.
And the point for everyone here, it's like the believability.
Yeah.
It has to feel natural.
Yeah.
Right? Like, but there's value in practice and outlines and having your goals and that sort of thing. But I think there's also value in letting someone go where they're going to go
Yeah.
too, right? Even starting this podcast, I've had a few people who push to talk first, want to prep, and so I send them information, but I try to make the point is that we can go wherever we go with this. The goal would be, we there's a story we're sharing in there. I mean, and that people learn something or get inspired by it, but ultimately, like, I don't
Yeah.
want to over prepare you because I just don't want to sound too polished. At
Yeah.
least I feel validated that my my gut was telling me don't over prepare. Although people need generally know, what are you trying to accomplish with this thing? What's it about? They
And that's the most you
care
should give
about
them.
not going into left field, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I think it's, when it comes to podcasting, it's up to the host to direct the conversation. Um, my podcast is on about episode 85 or so, and I think only 3 people maybe have asked for questions beforehand. And 1 or 2 may have asked, like, do you want to do a prep call? I was like, no, we don't do prep calls. I'm going to interview you as it happens.
Yeah.
And again, it's kind of on me as the host. It's on me to guide the conversation and to keep it on track and to know what we want to talk about. Prep calls, no, I don't do them. And when I'm asked to do them, I'm a little annoyed because, I mean, tell me what we're going to talk about. That's all I need to know. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Um, Plus, I guess maybe it depends on the guest. Has your guest ever done a podcast before?
The one
If
guest in
they haven't done
particular
one,
knows me, right? Like, so the one guest, she knows, she's like in a little more involved. She's like a, business partner. So she's
mhm.
really wants to get it right, and to be honest, like I haven't had that request from anyone other than that person, which makes sense now that I think about it. I get it. I remember when I was on a podcast, I was like, oh, should we make sure, I want to make sure that I give you what you need. Meanwhile, that person wants me to come in more of an unscripted manner. Obviously, the topic,
Yeah.
no, but makes sense.
I'm
No scripts.
I understand preparation. I
Yeah.
understand data, but at the same time, I also believe that we're in a time now where speed matters. Being present matters more than being perfect. And time again, we see the brands and the individuals who are more present win over the ones who are more perfect. To me, that's just really, really old school.
I
The other
was just
day,
about to say,
yeah,
sometimes
my
old
mother
school
asked
is the
me,
best
she's
school.
like, you know what, son? I really still don't know what you do, much as I try to understand. And so when I told her, I said, well, we capture content from executives and help them drive business with the content we create. And she's like, so when you record a video for them, do you help them get it on TV? And I'm like, that's not even the goal. She's like,
Oh,
but so many people watch TV. I said, not as many as you would think. I was like,
oh, I
for
love it
for
though. She
business
got it.
content, yeah, we want the website, we want social
Mhm.
channels, we want YouTube. We're not trying to get on TV. It's not even part of the goal. But you'd be surprised how many companies still think that way too. Like
Mhm.
we need a 3 months of planning and logistics and scripting and set design and clothing design, all this. Like, dude, this is not 1990. Like, what are you doing? Your competitor, in fact, we have one client ask us, can you do for us what our competitor's doing? And I said, sure we can. Then I examined, I said, what are you doing now? Oh, you know what? We do this great video production once a month and we set up our studio in our lobby with our logo behind it, and our CTO interviews our project manager on our product. I said, okay, there's so many wrong things with that. First of all, you said once a month. Second of all, what is your CTO going to say that's even questionable about their own product? Like, what kind of conversation is that? It's a commercial. If it's the CTO and the person who works for them, there's no friction in that conversation at all. It isn't believable. Meanwhile, your competitor has a podcast. They're putting out 1 episode a week. That episode spins off 5 to 15 shorts per week. They're creating web pages for every one of those. They're creating 20 to 30 pieces of content per week to your one per month. And it's because you're overthinking it like it's 1990. You keep on doing that, you're not going to compete with them. And to this day, they're not close, because how do you gain share of mind share of market, top of mind, whatever you want to call it, when you're not showing up.
Yeah.
And they're hiding under regulation, they're hiding under how we used to do it, they're hiding under we have to plan, they're hiding the biggest one, they're hiding under how we've always done it. That's the biggest thing companies or marketing teams hide under. And they don't have enough guts to say, look, boss, that ain't working. This is not 2010. We need to show up more often and less polished. That's a hard pill to swallow, but it's the reality.
Maybe if you get them to go off on the side and try it out without getting approval and then show the result. I find that that's the only way. The people that are willing to just go ask, beg forgiveness,
Yeah.
do something small first and then just, hey, look at this. Oh, suddenly, oh, we could, yeah.
And that happens. That we've had executives, CEOs, CFOs, whatever, say, I don't want to do social content, but they do agree to do an interview on video.
Right.
And so we get that video interview,
Yeah.
and then we give them 5 or 6 clips of them for LinkedIn with the copy. They go, oh, wow, how can I put that out? That sounds great. They said no at first, but then when they see it, they go, oh, that didn't hurt so bad. And I would have never done that on my own. I mean, so if I were to show a potential client, another client's CEO in all their LinkedIn posts, they would say, oh, that looks difficult. How would I do that?
Yeah.
We'll show them it isn't that difficult. Just show up for the call and we'll take care of it.
Yeah. It's just an interview.
Just an interview. Like, let me just ask you a few questions, or meet us at this link, and we'll ask you some questions. And then next thing you know, you're a thought leader that's visible in your industry beyond what your competitors are doing, but they have to sometimes see it to believe it because they think it's more difficult than it actually is.
I have some referrals for you.
Okay.
I do. Oh my gosh. All right, Lee. Well, I could talk to you forever, but thank you for being on the show today. Before we go, what's
Yeah.
the best way for someone
Okay.
to get in touch with you?
Yeah. Well, socially, my
Yeah.
hangout is LinkedIn if you want to connect socially. But
Okay.
my 2 websites are Content Monsta, 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 contentmonsta.com. And then my personal site as a consultant is aleejudge.com.
aleejudge.com. Awesome. Everyone should check those out. As a reminder to everybody listening, this show is brought to you by the Vibe Method. And again, it's a process that we use and teach marketers and innovators to find their unique customer story and prove that that story will work before they go live. So to find out more about how we can help you nail what we call a killer ride before you go live, go to gohunch.com. And until next time, always remember the worst thing you can do with a hunch is ignore it.